We're just going to wait. Hello, everybody. We're just going to wait a couple of more minutes to let more people join in, and we'll just get started. Okay, so let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the topic of 2026 cybersecurity plans are already outdated. Here's what we're doing about it. I'm Daniela Perlmutter, the Chief Marketing Officer for Cye, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. Now, annual plans are often built on static past assessments. They're often outdated before they're even approved. Now, threats that evolve faster than processes, AI that's rewriting both the attack and defense playbooks, and regulatory pressure is multiplying across regions. So in the next 45 minutes, we'll explore what's disrupting traditional cybersecurity planning and what is the impact of this disruption on reshaping risk management and what security and technology leaders are doing about it and doing differently about it as they prepare for 2026. So at Cye, we partner with global enterprises to quantify and continuously reduce their cyber exposure while driving their cyber resilience over time. And so I'm joined here by three distinguished leaders to share with us how they're shaping the future and preparing for 2026. First, Reuven Aroni is the founder and CEO of Cye. He's a national cybersecurity leader, bringing the strategic view and disruptive practice to move from reactive, siloed cybersecurity practices to a tailored, holistic exposure management program. And Ravi Bindra is the CISO at SoftwareOne with over 20 years of experience within the Swiss pharmaceutical industry. He has worked as operational manager for security, master of disaster, and as a security architect, putting in defensive systems with budgets of over 250 million Czech francs for enterprises. And Jan Bogdanovich, the Chief Technology Officer of Also and a member of its group management board. Jan has steered ALSO's digital platform strategy, including cloud marketplace rollout and growth of cybersecurity, AI, and IoT platforms across the business. So thank you for joining us, and I wish us all a very exciting and delightful webinar. So now that we set the stage, let's get straight into the discussion. Cybersecurity planning, I think, is no secret that it's become one of the hardest leadership challenges in tech, since it requires determining the value of technology, people, and processes in the context of the business impact so that people can understand and then be able to achieve this leadership alignment across the organization. And so if you think of, what are the key challenges that are developing across the cybersecurity world that are actually challenging the annual planning processes of the cybersecurity plan. And we look at the statistics and we see that 42% of CISOs mention that they need to review their annual plans on a quarterly basis. And more than 60% of CISOs say that their annual plans are already obsolete within 6 months. And so if you see this window of validity of the plans, you see that it's shrinking from the original 12 months to 6 months last year. In 2025, it was down to the quarterly review, as we saw. And in 2026, the statistics actually say that it's going to go down to even every 1 month. And so as you look towards 2026, what are the biggest challenges you see in developing cybersecurity programs for the year ahead? And Ravi, maybe you can start us off. You've talked about the tension between budget effectiveness, team capacity, and keeping leadership aligned with a constantly shifting threat landscape. So what is your view? What is your view?
So as a CISO, the vision hasn't changed. Our vision should stay along the lines of keep the data safe. However, the mission is changing now. From 3 years ago, my mission was stay out of the news. Today, the mission is to block the breach as quickly as possible. So we always planned on a breach happening once every 3 years, 4 years. Now the AI tools have increased the velocity of attack, and organizations have to adapt at the same speed. And we'll discuss this later with the other questions, but it comes down to how quickly you can readjust your spending forecasts, how quickly you can align with your finance managers for them to accept that what you said you're going to buy is not what you need today. So that's how I see the issue, and that's how I see my biggest challenge.
Thank you for that. And Jan, from your perspective as a CTO, what's the hardest part of planning when the technology itself, especially AI, keeps on evolving mid-year?
Yeah, I can summarize it in maybe 3 points, which I can expand. So first one, you don't know what you don't know, and that's a good starting point. In our time of very fast technological development, where these new technologies are available for the good guys as well as for the bad guys, you don't know what they already created, and which is basically a next 0 day, and that can come tomorrow. And of course, because of that, you are not prepared or not necessarily prepared, right? So the second point then requires continuous re-evaluation. Every day the threat landscape changes, and you need to re-evaluate yourself, and that is absolute mandatory capability which organizations need to develop, because without the possibility to re-evaluate, then your yesterday plan on the response of the yesterday 0 days indeed is obsolete. So from that perspective, I think these two things result in don't trust your plan. Don't trust your plan of yesterday, because of ever changing landscape and the speed which is growing, the speed of these technological innovations and the speed of how companies deploy this new technology is putting more pressure on cybersecurity. And yes, indeed, I believe a new approach for cybersecurity planning is needed. From my core job, so I run the platform business models and platform developments, and I very much find similarities how you manage a cybersecurity as a product instead of as a project, because it is evolving, a living beast. Protection as well, and more on perspective of how to treat it as a kind of a product. All this collection of capabilities of organization as a living product, which is ever evolving, and there is a new tech which you can use inside of it to strengthen. There is a new tech to attack it and destroy it, and that is continuous process. So yes, very much believe that we need to discuss and think about new approach for cybersecurity planning.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. And Ruby, from your perspective, when you work with so many global enterprises around the world of from different industries, where do you see their challenges? Do you see like repeating challenges across industries and across regions?
So I start by saying that when planning a cybersecurity program, there are several parts to every cybersecurity program. We can't sustain a program that everything changes in the program every month or every quarter even, right? There must be some static, let's say, steady basis for this program. So I just want to be clear that not everything is changing like on a daily basis. For other things, we need to be prepared not only monthly and not quarterly, as Jan mentioned. That's something that needs to be done live. So today you have a new vulnerability or a new weakness, you need to be able to react to it. That's the best scenario. The bad scenario is that you react to it. If you're able to predict it or to be prepared up front, then of course you'll be in a better position to be able to protect against it. But every time that you're surprised, every time that you're reactive, that's something that will change by definition your program. Now, again, it's not the entire program, it's not everything. So you need also in your planning to take planning as part of your plan. Just to be very clear, you can plan a lot of what you do, but keep always room for being agile, and agility in this case will be extremely important. Now, there are multiple examples to it, right? So AI security is now something that everyone is talking about, and we'll talk about AI probably today much more. But the point here is that that's something that we knew about at least 2 years, probably much more, but at least 2 years in the past, so we could have been prepared. But then something happened and the pace changed dramatically, and all of a sudden everyone is now already in the situation. Now you need to react instead of being able to predict it up front. So from my point of view, when we look at let's say the organizations that we are working with, and in general the industry, so I would say that in every organization I see something steady, something that is part of the overall approach, as Ravi mentioned. The philosophy, the mindset doesn't change. You have a very clear objective. However, to get there, you need sometimes to change the tactical aspects that you are taking, and sometimes even the strategies that you are taking, in order to get to the objectives that you put up front for your organization. But again, the plan validity window that we see here, that's something that is definitely also this window of what is the dynamic part of your plan. That's something that we want really to minimize to the possible minimum, because again, I have to say, we need to be agile and we need to be able to move fast. That's true, but you cannot do that for the entire plan. You cannot start a network segmentation project that takes 2 years and 1 month later you say, okay, you know what, it's not a priority anymore. Because this way you never get anything done, right? So we just need to put things in the relevant proportion.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And you mentioned AI, Jan and Ravi also mentioned the issue of AI, and of course we can't have a single webinar without immediately addressing AI. So if you think of the impact, the practical impact of AI in your organizations, if we look at, and Ruby addressed that, and how things are becoming much more dynamic, and in a sense AI is like a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's a force multiplier for the entire organization, for the business, to do repetitive actions in a much faster manner across the enterprise functions. Now, on the cybersecurity side, we're seeing it both as a weapon for attackers with speed and scale, as you all mentioned, but it's also one of the strongest tools for defenders. So what is the practical impact of AI in your organizations? And Jan, if you can start us off, at the time I heard you talking about the need for a wake-up call that is needed because AI is adopted across the organization. So can you please, explain what do you mean by that?
Yeah, thank you, Daniela. So wake-up call. So maybe we start with the good side of things before we dive to the bad side. So indeed, AI is great tool for automation. Cybersecurity has a lot of events happening where you need to react, and the amount of people is and was always the limiting factor in organizations for how much of the stuff they can process, right? And AI as a tool for automation can help organizations to shorten the reaction, shorten the time needed to react, and some of research work which is needed for reaction can be also automated, so that when it comes to the expert, there is already a context gathered about an incident, and all the necessary correlations have been already done. So on the good side, AI will help organizations to react faster and to handle more of events which are happening. On the other side, also on the good side, we see a lot of companies are deploying a lot of these automations in their organizations, right? Not necessary to security operations, but also in business processes. And each of these deployments must be governed and must go through security, let's say, analysis. And because of the pressure to deploy AI very fast, we see that some customers, let's say, skip the part of security, and then there is business guys who automate processes, also sometimes even not involving the IT guys in it, and then the topic of cybersecurity will be handled later. So that is, a huge risk, which a lot of companies are sleeping about, are not aware, and we need to speak more and more to wake up, because all these, AI app builders and automation just describe it in 2 sentences and it will be done. How good they are done in terms of security, nobody knows. And also what is even more dangerous, nobody checks. And that is something which needs to be very much highlighted. So I love all the work that from Cye perspective you do to help companies manage these AI implementations from security perspective, because I think if we speak about 25, 26, this is the main hot potato, and and still there is not enough awareness of what is going on. And from cybersecurity, absolutely great tool to automate, to react faster, but also puts a lot of homeworks and a lot of pressure on cybersecurity to keep control on all the stuff which is going on.
And this is especially relevant when we hear that the mean time to exploit and mean time to exfiltrate data also is reducing with time with AI. So Ruby, maybe you can address that. How is the impact of the reducing mean time to exploit exposures and vulnerabilities in the environment is impacting the way organizations need to think about their cybersecurity programs?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one, because one of the things that we see with AI is that organizations, or let's say the good guys, are also working with AI in order to protect the organization, while the bad guys are actually generating their own tools in order to attack, right? Where is the problem? The problem is that the good guys are trying to build what we call enterprise-ready solutions. So capabilities that will be actually acceptable in the enterprise level and will be ready for customers to consume. While the attackers, they don't care. They have they are much faster in going out to market. So that's something that we need to understand. This gap is material, right? That's what makes a huge difference. Now, when it comes to, let's call it complexity of attack or sophistication of attack, I have to say that what we see until now, at least today, I didn't see AI changing the attacks to be much more sophisticated. But we saw AI changing the attacks in velocity. They are much faster. So when there are things that are exposed, if in the past you would expect time to exploit on a given 0 day or 1 day out there to be several months until attackers identify that, exploit it, and going after it, on average, of course. There is always the first one to be attacked, but on average, we are talking months. Today, we are already talking days, and very soon we'll talk minutes, right? And that's something that changes the way that we evaluate internet exposed, let's say, vulnerabilities. Now, the next phase will be, of course, tools that will attack us from the inside. You know, we see MCP servers being installed everywhere, and tools, AI tools that are being used without any kind of governance, as Jan mentioned before, right? So bring your own AI, do whatever you want. The potential of malicious activities coming from those items, and then also attacking the inside of the organization, is there. We'll get there, I'm sure. But at the moment, most things that we've seen are coming from the outside. So if I need to change my plan, my cybersecurity plan, at the moment, I would put a lot of resources and emphasis on making sure that my internet perimeter, if perimeter still exists, but internet-facing assets, let's say, are hardened and maintained in a level that is much more, let's say, continuous and mature than what we've seen in the past. If that's the one thing that I would say that has to be different.
Yeah, makes complete sense. And now you both also mentioned governance. And if you think of, you know, AI governance, not only in the organization level, but also on the federal and country level or regulatory level, we're seeing that the AI has really driven a lot of complexity across regulatory requirements and rules, whether it's in the European Union or out of the European Union, in the US, across North America, it's actually across the globe. And Ravi, maybe you can share some insights on how to include this complexity. The complexity of regulation has always been there, but now also the complexity of complying with so many different now rules that are different between regions and countries that are relevant specifically to data privacy and AI is driving a whole new domain of complexity. So I wonder if you can share, you know, what are some of your insights on how to include or take into consideration that complexity?
Okay, so business is using AI to move faster, generate more profits. Your business leaders will not accept mere administrative people within the company reducing their margins, slowing down their business. And now, the people that need to be involved in assessing anything new or assessing the impact of something from regulatory appliance to what is happening within the business are your architects, your CISO, your data protection officer. These are the three people who have the least amount of spare time available to discuss with business any new idea they've got or any new AI tool. So what you already need to have in place is that your board has sponsored a team who will manage AI responsibly within the organization. And it's got to keep the AI tools within the guardrails of regulatory environments. The way that business is using it is, first of all, internal use to make themselves more efficient. They're using it to support customers. If you can use an AI tool, you could replace your customer support team, more or less. And thirdly, it's being used by business to sell an AI tool to customers. So anything that a business has as a front end to a customer, they're now replacing with AI tools.
Mm-hmm.
So with the regulatory requirements and privacy, you have no hope to stay ahead of the game unless you yourselves are using AI to make the decision for the business whether a tool should be used, what the guardrails are around it, and what the restrictions are. So, but here's the good thing about it. The return on investment of an AI tool can be within your annual budget cycle. So once you've justified it, you can go ahead and implement it. That works both ways, not just for the attackers, but for the defenders as well.
Mm.
So that's how I see the people responsible for compliance, your GRC teams, your AI, your architects, your data protection teams. They have to work together with AI tools to make their decision-making faster.
That makes sense. So moving on to the elephant in the room. We all talked about how things are changing so fast. The speed of change, the velocity of change is just accelerating. So it begs the question, is annual planning still relevant, or more than that? Jan, maybe you can actually say or weigh in on how do you see the planning itself changing, the planning of the annual cybersecurity program?
Yeah, I think we need to decouple it to like components of the plan to assess whether it makes sense on a yearly basis or more often. Like when we speak about budgets, usually budgets are planned on a yearly basis. So budgets for cybersecurity will stay on a yearly basis. When it comes to the headcounts, which are linked to the budgets, they most probably will also be on a yearly basis, plus with some trigger events could be, expanded, etc. As Ruby mentioned, when it comes on a kind of principle perspective, that even doesn't change over multiple years, like the principles of engagement in cybersecurity and how company wants to treat cybersecurity. But the tactical topics, they must go to more regular cadence. What we find working is a quarterly planning of the activities focused on concrete business outcomes. That is still enough time for teams to deliver the results, and that gives the reprioritization possibility throughout the year. I would say for planning the priorities of different teams, that would be quarterly, but the fundamentals, they are there to stay for many years, the budgets for 1 year, and then operational reaction is continuous. So that is a capability which organization needs to develop and evolve, and that that goes through the checkpoints. But maybe Ruby, you can.
I totally agree with what you said, right? That's the right way to look at it. And I think that, annual planning will be there. So there's no way around it because of budgeting, as you just mentioned, right? Budgeting cycle is really, by definition, going to be one of the drivers of planning. Keep in mind that also one thing that is even more traditional than that, the multi-year planning, 3-year planning, 5-year planning, I anticipate those to stay as well, but only for the big things that Jan mentioned before, right? To take a theme, a North Star for the organization, and then chase it. That's something that will be but very high level. So, for example, an organization can say, I want to be on the maturity scale in the next 3 years. From 3.1, I want to go to 3.6. That's something that you can plan 3 years in advance, at least the vision. Now, the implementation of it will be definitely dynamic. So the point that I'm trying to make is that there will be some kind of structure that will be the base, that will be more or less steady. not every day you need to change your security concept because AI is coming in. So we need to remember that. And tomorrow it will be quantum computing. So those are happening every now and then, and that changes also multi-year planning. But most of the things, and let's say the most important things, even with AI, if you think about it, everything that we mentioned until now, other than the actual AI implementation in the organization, those are the basic foundations. So internet perimeter that is clean, passwords that cannot be guessable, multi-factor authentication enforcement, those are all basics. If we go back to the basics and we solve those, I can tell you that regardless of what are the next challenges, the baseline will be good enough in order to react quickly to other things as well. So from my point of view, build the maturity from the basics. Don't skip those. You cannot go to AI protection before you have multi-factor authentication enabled on your user. Okay, just as an indicator, something to remember. That's something that I think that will drive, of course, the way that we are planning. So again, still, I think you'll hear in board meetings, our plan for the next 3 to 5 years is this. This is something that we're still going to hear. We're still going to hear the annual planning from the CISO perspective for budgeting, resources, and of course, people in the organization. But then I don't think it's even now quarterly, it's on a monthly basis or even on a stand-up meeting that you have every day with the CISO and operational team members, you'll have missions that are changing daily. And that makes sense. That's the way to do that.
Yeah, this makes complete sense. And if you think of then how do you, if we have the operational activities that are changing, also even on a, not only on a quarterly, on a monthly, but also on a daily basis, how do you show the outcomes? You all spoke about outcomes. So first of all, how do you know those outcomes are effective? I mean, what you're doing, what the activities and the changes in the operational activities are effective. And then how do you show it? Ravi, maybe you want to address that, because you mentioned also early on that there is a need to align with finance on the target, but then we have this continuous updating and adapting the operation. So how do you measure, and what type of metrics do you believe actually matter?
Yeah, no, this is one of the most important things, is aligning yourself with both the leadership and the finance organizations, but also with suppliers, funnily enough. When you talk about the annual budgets, yes, you have to plan annually, but you have to be flexible on a quarterly basis. I think at the moment it's too much of a stretch for organizations to even be flexible at quarterly, let alone monthly. But in terms of proving outcomes, if you're changing things quarterly, they want to see what was the result of your last quarter's changes. Now, proving outcomes takes some imagination. It's not being breached is a matter of luck. Everybody realizes this now. But you can show that you got the basics under control. And quite frankly, the basics have not changed. The basics are manage your identities, manage your access rights, manage your vulnerabilities. So if you develop metrics to measure and show improvements on these things on a month-by-month, quarter-by-quarter basis, you will get your leadership on board that you are doing the right things. So some of the examples that I use internally is attack surface measurement. In terms of, now you can go to external attack surface measurement tools that give you a percentage score or a number out of 1,000, but these don't mean anything to anybody outside of a comparison to the last one. Right. If you can show it in terms of cyber risk quantification with a tool that links your crown jewels, your vulnerabilities, and the attack path the hacker can take, it actually becomes a very valuable tool when talking to your leadership, because a 5-minute meeting will quickly become 20, 30 minutes because they're so engaged in the what-if scenarios that you can do. And once you've got that level of engagement, you're halfway to winning the battle. Other vulnerability, also other measurements you can use is how quickly can you attack to your cyber threat intelligence reports? how quickly can you react to compromised accounts and mitigate them or remove that compromisation? Finally, it's your vulnerabilities, which is part of your attack surface. It's how you're measuring yourself on patching. Believe it or not, it's still probably the most vital thing. Either patching or removing a system and rebuilding it in today's cloud environment. But access rights is the hardest because no tool today, as far as I know, links your HR system to your role-based access control. That means that whatever access rights you give someone, the moment they change their job, it's completely out of the window. Use AI tools, that's what they're there for. Ask AI, who has rights within the department they shouldn't have? Let it spend a couple of hours finding out and telling you, then you can investigate why somebody in finance has operating rights, admin rights through the operating system. So use the tools to not just measure, but also improve what you're doing. And that will increase your maturity towards your vision. Because as Ruby said earlier, it's your vision will not change. It's your strategy and your mission changes, but it all has to feed into one direction that everyone understands. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's very helpful. And actually now I'd like to move to another important part in the cybersecurity plan, and that is actually the people. It's not just the tools, but let's think of, and I'd like to raise here the question to you is, around how do we balance between the tools and the human or the people resources that are required in cybersecurity, whether it's with the different technology advancements or the AI used in defense as well. Jan, maybe you can start us with, what is the evolution of technology and software, and how do you see humans as playing up the irreplaceable role of humans in cybersecurity?
Yeah, so thank you, Daniela. So I think the statement what I want to make, companies still will need experts because AI, like a software app, it can generate, the output. It maybe can execute the workflow of connected systems, doing something and then bringing the output. But to evaluate the output, you need to be an expert in particular topic, right? And this, let's say, quality assurance function is relying on humans and will keep relying on humans. Yes, more basic jobs will be, or more basic tasks will be automated, clear. But still, have they been done in a good quality or not? Only an expert can evaluate. So how it is, with all these automations in software development, same stories on cybersecurity. You need to have a cybersecurity experts who can evaluate, what is going on, what are the responses, does it make sense, and you cannot expect it just from an app or a software, which AI in essence is. So I believe is fundamental to have the expertise and to develop the expertise for the companies. Like many are asking, okay, how to protect our AI implementations? So first you need to learn how to hack AI. Before you know how to hack AI, how you can protect it. And same applies on cybersecurity principles. So expertise in humans will be the differentiating factor going forward. On the scalability, yes, AI can help to scale, but you still need to have experts who are able to ensure quality assurance.
Ruby, can you also weigh in here? How do you see enterprises, also in different industries, how they see the role of humans versus technology, or human or AI, where AI in some cases takes over the analytical and detection roles, where do you see the human expertise being a key differentiator?
So, based on also what my friends here said, if you look at the market and what's happening with some of, let's say, the categories that are being defined, we were used to read SaaS as software as a service, right? Now, there is a very big change there that SaaS is becoming now service as a software. So here's the point, right? People want to work with people. There are people that are, being the front end of a lot of missions. And then, as Jan mentioned, using some kind of engine software behind the scenes to really help them scale, be more accurate, be faster. So that's okay. But again, the human capabilities, the human brain is still not only a necessity, but something that you cannot replace still. So everything that is repeatable, functions that you can actually automate, I mean, that's good to do that. And we'll definitely see shifting from people, writing code, for example, to people writing prompts, right? So we see already, the estimation is that 70% of the code is already being generated today by machines. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm sure that Jan would love to speak about code that generates code, right? Or self-changing code. Those are the things that he likes to speak about. But my point is that in all of those cases, we are still in a situation where humans are required, and more than that, I see that based on our work in the industry, that the demand now for services is actually growing quite significantly. So you can be surprised. How can it be with the AI? How can it be that you have more requirements for services? But this is the reality. So I think that the change to services software, we'll see that as a big thing in the future, and you see investors start to speak about it and how that is being measured and so on. So I really think that we are going there. However, it's very important to mention the expectations now in the market will be much higher. Faster delivery, quality, accuracy, and so on. Those will be requirements that will be not nice to have anymore. Those will be must have. And by the way, in some cases, AI is not good enough yet to be accurate enough and give things that or answers sometimes that is not trying just to give you an answer just to satisfy. Right? That's something that happens, right? We see that as part of the traits that AI is starting to develop. So that's my
maybe just to add on top of what Ruby said. So there is this new phenomena which you can read on internet. It's a kind of new thinking about a future of age of self-adjusting software. So today are humans adjusting software, development teams, okay, with the help of AI already. In future, it will be software adjusting itself. And then from security standpoint, a very valid question. Okay, and did it adjust it according to our, I don't know, architecture, our, goals, etc. in cybersecurity, or did it just create a new vulnerability? So from this AI innovation, there will be more pressure coming towards cybersecurity. That's for sure, and that is also resonating with what Ruby said, that the demand for cybersecurity will be growing exponentially because of that. Because someone needs to check, okay, what just happened? A new version created by itself, and are we now vulnerable to the 0 day or not?
Yeah. Which leads us right into the next question is, okay, so how do you choose your partners, the vendors, the solution providers you work with in this, Jan, as you say, the self-adapting software, the self-adjusting technology world? What are the key criteria that you look for when you evaluate your partners? And Jan, maybe you can carry on with that.
Yeah, I think the evaluation criteria have to be, let's say, reviewed and adjusted as well by companies because of, everything what happens in the world. So we hear over the last years constantly the topic of supply chain attacks, and the awareness of the supply chain. And when it comes to the, let's say, vendors in software or in IT in general, I think understanding the supply chain intrinsic risks is becoming more important in evaluations, as well as the topics of integrations, because we didn't speak today yet much about AI, agentic AI, which is not only able to answer you in text, but also do actions in in your own systems, in other systems, in systems of supply chain, and this new agentic AI will very soon become a requirement, in vendor evaluations, etc. And what security measures have vendors done about it, agentic AI? Because when you can read a nice joke from ChatGPT, nice, but there is no like much impact. But when a system can change something in real world, like open doors, it becomes much more how do you say, critical, and unfortunately in artificial intelligence, which is moving super fast, some of the basic things like MCP protocol, which is model context protocol, which is one of the fundamental things of this agentic AI world. The guys didn't pay attention on cybersecurity, so there is like authentication missing. They forgot to put it. The data model trusts whatever the MCP server gives it, and then that's bad. There is a lot of workarounds going on in the industry, and all the big companies tries to fix it and to create a new type of guardrails which will plug the missing authentication, and then hopefully all the spoiled GitHub MCP servers will be banned, and then developers will not be downloading rogue MCP servers and exposing their organizations to new risks. But yeah, AI definitely creates more questions about how organizations evaluate their vendors and their supply chain, and is definitely asking for adjustment of that process, both internally as well as externally.
Yeah, this makes complete sense. Unfortunately, our time is coming up to the end, and I would like to still let our listeners leave with 3 main tips, one from each of you. So Ravi, if you can start us off with your number 1 tip for all our listeners, for all the security leaders and technology leaders who are listening here, how should they prepare for 2026?
So accept the fact that your planning for 2026 is already out of date. Be flexible, be imaginative, engage with your internal stakeholders so that they support you when things go wrong. That's my message. Thank
you. Jan, would you like to give your message?
Yeah, first message, learn how to hack AI. Second, treat your cybersecurity as a product rather than a project. And then last one, use a very well-known zero trust approach to your cybersecurity plans. Means, be super critical and question every point in your plan and do it again and again. Become more critical. That is the last.
Thank you. And Ruby, to close us out? your final
Yeah,
tip?
I'll add something much simpler than that. Of course, my educated friends here, they know what they are talking about. But for me, don't skip stages. That's my key message. Don't go to protect the most, I don't know, sophisticated environment in your organization before you actually took care of the basics of your organization that were mentioned here several times. Right? Basics first, then move on. That's a very basic message that I hope that people will take to their 2026 planning. Basics, the fundamental items, basic foundations of organizations are always the #1 priority.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruby, Ravi, and Jan, and thanks everyone who joined us today. If there's, one takeaway I think we can all take from here is that cybersecurity planning isn't going anywhere, but it's no longer based on just prediction. It's really taking care of the foundations of the basics and then continuously adapting with a long-term target of being resilient for what's next. So thank you, everyone. We will share in the coming days the recording of this webinar. And if you have any other questions or discussion points for our panelists, please feel free to reply with your questions. Thank you very much. Until then, stay safe, be ready.
Thank you.
And enjoy 2026 planning.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.